Welcome everyone to BoomerWorks. I'm Shira Lotzar, happy to be your host tonight. We are really excited to do this digital marketing mastermind with you. We have Jill Kurtz here, who is a seasoned PR and marketer. She has a consulting firm that is very prolific, and she's been a dear friend of mine for many years, and just so delighted to have her here. And so what I wanted to let you guys know in terms of our format tonight, this is going to be an open Q&A, okay? So really any digital marketing question that you have, Jill will help to address. I'll probably chime in a couple times here, but Jill is definitely the expert on our call tonight. And what we're going to do is to kind of kick things off, Jill and I have actually prepared some questions just in case you guys didn't have many, because there's that box of you don't know what you don't know, right? So we kind of anticipated that because Jill gets a lot of questions from her small business clients all the time. So we prepared some. And what I'll do is I'm going to start with the first question. And while Jill is answering that question, that should give you a few moments to actually collect your thoughts and then chat what your questions are. Now, we don't have that many people on the call at the moment. We're actually anticipating many more than this potentially. So we might be able to just do an open mic, but for the moment, just be thinking about what your digital marketing questions are, put them in the chat box. I will moderate, and then we'll keep going. Okay. So with that, let me go ahead and start with our first question here that Jill and I pre-prepared. And it's a very simple one, right? Jill gets this all the time, and it is the most broadest question possible. And that is, where should I market? Where should I be online? Right. So it's probably the most fundamental question that people would have. And Jill's prepared to answer that. And like I said, while she's answering, go ahead and put your other questions in chat. So Jill.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for jumping on tonight. And, I truly hope that this will give you a couple of takeaways to walk away with that will help you at whatever stage you're at with your business. We've all been there from start to, kind of feeling like maybe you're in a rut after a period of time. So please do ask your questions, because I loved the format that I didn't have to try to anticipate what your questions are. And that I could just answer them during the next hour. So where do you need to be online? First of all, let me just assure you, no matter what your business is, you do need to be online. I think that the pandemic demonstrated to us that we really can't necessarily count on face-to-face or even people walking through a brick and mortar door. And so really today, for today's consumer, whether you are marketing to folks in, the 60 plus, or you're marketing to very young consumers, everybody expects a valid, verifiable business today to have some type of online presence. So it is super important for your credibility as a business to have some form of online presence. Where do you need to be? That largely depends on what business it is that you are trying to market. There is no one answer to that question. The question is as unique as the business that you are either looking to launch or have launched. So you just need to, take a little step back. Don't just jump into, let's say, Facebook, for example, because the person you met at the last networking meeting was talking all about what they're doing on Facebook. That may not be a really relevant place for you to spend a lot of time. So what you really need to understand is who it is that you want to market to. Who is your ideal customer? Who's your ideal client? Where are they online? Now, a great general answer is that they do Google searches. And so having a website for most businesses is the great singular place to be online. Beyond that, you really need to think about, where is my customer? And one of my first resources I'll offer you today is Pew Research, PEW. Pew has been doing research since before the internet on any number of topics. They do have US-based data, they have international data, and they have been tracking who uses what online platforms for years. They have great baseline data, very recent data, and you can drill down and you can figure out where people who are 25 to 35 are spending their time online, or where people in certain geographic areas are spending time online. So the data different data points will be interesting to you based on who it is you're trying to market to. But you really do want to, kind of understand your customer, where they are online. Another great way that I love to ask my businesses to figure out where to be online is just in the conversations they have. When they talk to somebody who is either a customer or a good representation of their target customer, where do they talk about that they get their information online? Where those are the places where you need to be with your business. Oh, Sherry, you're still muted.
Thanks for that, Jill.
Yeah, you can just leave yourself unmuted. You can chime in anytime.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So we have a question from Alex, and the question is, can you run Google video ads on only set channels, not based on category by preset list of channels?
Okay, so that's advertising, and I'm really a marketing expert, and there is kind of a difference. I don't do a lot of work with Google Ads, so I don't really know that I have anything super insightful to offer to you there. My expertise is more in the how do you develop relationships online with your target client or audience or customer, however you like to think about it. How do you create visibility in general online for your business so that when people are looking for what you do, they can find you online. Advertising is very related, but it's a whole nother specialty. And that's just not where I live with most of my clients.
Jill, if you have any consultants who are experts in digital advertising, would love to have them as a future speaker. So
yeah, it's very expensive. Most of my clients do not work with that level of budget. So
gotcha. Okay, well that's good. That's good to know too, that it's very expensive.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to some of our pre-prepared questions. And one of them is this: how can my small business compete with the big guys online? They've got big marketing budgets. So how do I get attention with a small budget?
Yeah, and you might be, this might be something that you, as you kind of conceive of your business, you might really see this as a barrier, and it really isn't. So I'm here hopefully to offer you some encouraging words. 15 years ago, when you wanted to start your local business, you were up against the big marketing budgets that every national brand has. And so when somebody was looking for somebody to clean their house, and even if they were sitting in California, and if there was a national brand based in New York, they would get the result of that national brand in New York. So it used to be very daunting to try to compete with the big guys online. But Google, their goal is to connect people with what they really are looking for. And they understand that if somebody is sitting in Arizona and is looking for a plumber, they are not looking for a plumber who's in California, no matter what his budget is. So they have spent a lot of time offering tools to this little guy, the small business, because they know that that is going to make the searchers happier with Google results. So as a result of that, Google has tools there. It starts with the Google business. If every business wants to have a Google business listing, and you can just Google it and that will come up. It's very simple and it's free, completely free. And what you're doing with your Google business listing is literally putting yourself on the map with Google. Even if you are a business that provides services not at a physical location, as I am, I'm a consultant, nobody comes to my actual physical address for services. You still need to put yourself on the map with Google, and you can just check a box and they will not reveal your address, but they will then know where you're located, and you define what your service area is in terms of zip codes, in terms of towns, however you want to do it. You tell Google what your primary services are, and all of that intel helps Google to serve your business up to searchers that are relevant to you. So it's really worth taking the time to set up your Google business listing. Like I said, it's absolutely free. Once you have that listing, you can actually even make posts that will also come up on Google, also absolutely free. So there's a lot of resources there. And if you have, ever wondered, like when you search for plumber, real estate agent, any number of things. When a map comes up in the Google results and there are like these pins on the map and there are these local businesses, and if you've ever wondered, how did they do that? The answer is through their Google business listing, and they're not paying anything for that. So that's why I love that tip, because it's nothing that you really have to do anything more than take a little time to do. The other thing, and this gets back to Alex's question, and I just said, I'm not really a paid ad expert, but there is also a Google program that's called Google Local Ads. And the budget for them is much less than when you're purchasing a national ad. So if you have a local service area and you really, I recently worked with a plumber in an area where there was a lot of other plumbers, and they really wanted to get their name recognition out there. So Google local service ads are a great way to help get some name recognition, get your name out there, and they are offered for budgets that are a lot less than the big national Google ad buys that you might participate in. So that's a great tip for competing with the local guy. And associated with that, anything that you do online, be super clear about your service area. I know, like, if somebody from California called me tomorrow and wanted like a big digital marketing plan, I wouldn't turn them away. But fact of the matter is I'm located in Southern Virginia, and most of my clients are kind of clustered in this area. So be willing to be realistic. I work with a real estate agent. They would be happy to help anybody in Virginia buy or sell a home, but they specialize in Reston, Virginia. And their willingness to really focus and keep talking about the fact that they're specialists in Reston really helps them to attract a localized market. So don't be afraid to define a market, because that actually can work in your advantage, because most people are looking for service providers and businesses that are local to them.
That's great. And by the way, in the chat box, Alex suggested, asking whether we should all share in the chat what kind of businesses we do and would it help in the conversation. So I think so, actually. I think if you guys put that in the chat, in fact, I think we have few enough on the call now that I think as we get going, if folks want to actually share, hey, I'm of this kind of business, and that could help for two things. A, for Jill to understand how to target her answer, but also just for networking purposes, right? There could be some synergies right here on the call with folks who might, need each other's services. Or you might find a colleague here that you can partner up with. So I think that's a great idea. So so as we get maybe a little closer toward the end, maybe we can open up the lines and folks can share what they're doing. Okay. All right.
Great.
Thanks for all that, Jill. Okay, so another question that we had talked about, maybe this is even related to social media marketing, right? That's another topic that comes up, I think, for you a lot. How do you reach people on Facebook? What about LinkedIn, the B2B side of things? Give us a little social media primer.
Yeah, so like I said, I'll talk a little bit about some of the big social channels these days, but the caveat to that is some of these may not be appropriate for you. How much time you spend on a specific channel is really going to be very specific to the type of business that you have. So I'll talk about some of them in general, but just understand that not all of these might be relevant to you. So Facebook is still the big granddaddy of social media. It's the social platform we all love to hate. There's a lot of discussion on and off, about how people are leaving Facebook. Unfortunately, what people say and their behavior doesn't always match one-to-one. People are still very, very busy on Facebook, and it is still the largest platform by far. Again, if you go to Pew, you'll see that data. The interesting thing about Facebook for us as business owners or people thinking of starting a business is that you need to, on Facebook, we all can have a personal profile. So I'm Jill Kurtz on Facebook, and that's who I am. You have to have a personal profile to start a business profile. So I could not have a Kurtz Digital Strategy page without my personal profile. So that's one of the challenges for a business on Facebook, is you do have to have a personal profile. And I run into a lot of business owners that are super not comfortable with using Facebook personally. You don't have to be active. You just have to have that profile in order to launch the business page. So that said, you have to have a page as a business. If Facebook comes across a page that is using a personal profile as a business, they'll actually shut it down. So you don't want to try to skirt around that rule. But when you launch that personal page and you start posting to it, Facebook won't share it with anybody. It used to share it with 100% of the people who were interested in your business. Now that is ratcheted down to approximately 0 for all intents and purposes. So Facebook is a platform that is great because everybody's there. But the downside is you really are going to have to budget some marketing dollars if you really want to get visibility on Facebook these days. Now, even if you don't want to budget some marketing dollars, the fabulous thing about being on Facebook for a business is it allows people to refer you. And, you know, we've all heard the marketing kind of, wisdom that, there's nothing that beats a personal reference. Shira actually last week referred somebody to me who I'm really trying to connect with, a client of mine. I think that she could really help. And, I immediately thought well of this person because it was a recommendation from Shira, who I know. So these kind of back fence or over, however you want to, over coffee, person-to-person recommendations are super powerful for businesses. By being on Facebook, you enable somebody. So I'm on the Real Housewives of Loudoun County group, and somebody's looking for somebody who can do a professional development event for their business. Well, I can reply, and if that business has a Facebook page, I can tag that page, which then helps that person to get all the information. I don't have to look up what the phone number is or the website or anything like that. I can just say, well, I highly recommend XYZ presentation company, tag that page in Facebook and do that, over the fence or coffee recommendation. And that's super powerful for any business. So that's Facebook. Twitter is a great platform if your business is involved in newsworthy events and you want to inject yourself in those things that are literally in the headlines of the newspapers, or you're trying to make news in what you're doing. People who are newsmakers, who are in the media, really have a keen ear toward Twitter. Twitter is also great when you're doing an event. Pre-pandemic, when people could go to events in person, this would allow people who couldn't attend an event in person to kind of check in on an event and know what was going on. And you could make them really, really sad that they missed it and they didn't pay you to attend the event. So Twitter is a great platform for news, events, also customer service. I have a 30-something-year-old daughter, and the minute the lights go out, she goes to Twitter to contact the power company. That's just the way she thinks. So it's a great platform also for customer service because you can be really quick and timely. Instagram, also owned by Facebook, very similar to Facebook, but much more visually oriented. If you have a business where you have some really great visuals that will draw people into who you are, what you're doing, your products, your services, Instagram is a beautiful platform to be on because it really gives emphasis. You wind up with a board of images, kind of like a mood board for your business that can really help draw people into the big picture of who you are as a business. Very popular with those kind of 30 to 40 something consumers and business leaders. So the demographic skews a little bit young, well, middle age now on Instagram. But so that's Instagram. You hear a lot about TikTok these days. This is a great platform if you're really clever with video. People don't expect polished or like refined videos. They're real quick. They're real casual. If you're a type of storyteller who does great with visuals and telling your story that way, TikTok is even a younger demographic than Instagram. So layer that in there. But if you're a great visual storyteller, that's a really worthy platform to look at. And the last one I want to talk about, and if there's another one that I'm not mentioning that you're curious about, just put it in the chat. LinkedIn. LinkedIn has really come of age in COVID. I've been on LinkedIn for years, and there were wholesale industries of people that just were not participating on LinkedIn. Now that everybody understands this whole concept of virtual networking and connecting with people and building an online network, LinkedIn, everyone, it's really growing by leaps and bounds since COVID shutdowns. It is a great B2B, business to business network, and it's a great way for you to build your professional network. So even if you're a B2C business, it's a great way. Like, you should try to link and connect with everybody who's on this session today, because you never know. You know, Michael's going to talk about what he does maybe a little bit later, and maybe that's not relevant to you today, but maybe 6 months from now, you might need what Michael is, you know, the type of consulting he's doing, or you may have a client or a friend who needs what Michael is doing. And if you're connected to him on LinkedIn, it just makes it so much easier. You know, it's kind of like, you know, for those of us who are of an age, old, it's like your online Rolodex. It's just kind of where you collect all the people you've met along the way. And it's a great resource. But the other really wonderful thing about LinkedIn is, over the last several years, they have allowed everybody to be a self-declared subject matter expert. 10 years ago, Shira could probably post to LinkedIn because she's such an expert in association and executive development. But they used to have a very, like a really high bar if you could post an article in a subject area. They have removed all those barriers. So if you're trying to build your expertise in whatever your product or service is, you can post articles to LinkedIn in that topic area and really help build your credibility and your expertise. So LinkedIn, for anybody who wants to be a business owner or, you know, operate in any kind of professional realm, it's an awesome platform for you.
That's great. Speaking of platforms, so someone here asked you to please repeat the website you talked about before that is research. I'm not sure what.
That was Pew.
Oh, okay.
Pewinternet.org, I believe. But if you know,
yeah, so let me go ahead and spell that. It's P as in Paul, E-W, P-E-W,
correct.
Pew.
Yep.
Pew Research.
Yep. Pew Research, yes.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. All right, let's keep going here with some of the questions. So, you know, you talked a little bit about, you know, the social media platforms, but a lot of people are still thinking about email marketing, right? Is it still effective? What's your feeling about that?
So this is another great one that kind of like the conventional thinking is like a little bit out of sync with actual people's behavior. A lot of people think that email is very passé, don't spend time on it. It is still, and I'm here to tell you, it is still the most effective way to market online. Across the board, don't care what your business is, don't care if you're B2B, B2C, it is the most effective way to market. It has the best ROI of anything you can do online. I don't know what the latest data is, but, you know, it used to be like, you know, 3 times every penny cent.
The question here, Jill, is it more effective than advertising?
Well, again, my expertise is marketing and specifically relationship marketing and building connections with the community that you want to sell to or you want to network in. You know, I don't, you know, but yes, it's a very effective way to sell products. So I want to say yes, but I don't have any firsthand data on that. You can look at the Direct Mail Marketing Institute. They have a lot of data about the effectiveness of email marketing, and it is across the board. So this is why you get, you know, 20 emails a day from Kohl's and Home Depot and Best Buy, because it is such an effective way to market, you know, to generate sales, even at the retail level. So the thing about email marketing for any business is it's a great way to create and sustain connection and relationship with people who are interested in you, whether they've purchased or not. You then, you know, you have their address and you're communicating with them. I frankly get disappointed these days when I engage with a business and they don't put me on the to remember who they were and their contact information, and I have to like go seek out their website the next time I need their product or service. When they put me on their email marketing list, unless they're just spamming the heck out of me, it's really helpful to me to kind of keep in touch with what they're doing, to be reminded of that they're out there and what they offer. So email marketing is a great way to build ongoing connection with people who are interested in your business. So you need to be, when people contact you by email, you need to be capturing those addresses and put it on your email marketing list. When you connect with people on LinkedIn, you can capture their emails there. When people walk into your store, you know, lots of retail stores have a list, you know, do you want to sign up for our email list? And people just write it down on the pad. You just need to be thinking right from the beginning of your business, how you can capture contact information, name, email address is all you need, and start building your email list. And then you need to think about how often do you think this type of customer will want to hear from you? It could be just twice a year. You know, you could be in the HVAC business doing heating and cooling systems, and maybe they just want to hear from you in the spring to remind them of spring service, and they want to hear from you in the winter to remind them when they need to get the service to switch over to heating. They may want to hear from you weekly, depending on the type of business you have. So you need to kind of consider, what do they want to hear? How often seems reasonable for my industry? And then you just really need to commit to doing it. And I will tell you, my business is 6 years old now. This was one of the first things I invested my time in, is setting up my email list. And here's another tip for the day. MailChimp is a fabulous email marketing tool, and it's free until your list reaches a certain size. Constant Contact, the other popular one, is free for 30 days. And even if you never use it, you'll start paying monthly. MailChimp, until they changed the number, and I don't want to cite a number, but it's a pretty decent size number.
I think 2,000 is sort of the going rate, because HubSpot is the same way. I think that the major platforms give you 2,000 emails, and then you have to go premium. Yeah.
So MailChimp, you can sign up for free. You can use it for free for a very long time until your list grows to a certain size. But anyway, I started that myself for my business very early on. And no joke, 2 months ago, I send out a monthly marketing tip to everybody who's on my list. And I invite all of you to sign up. 2 months ago, somebody who I have literally not heard from since years before I started my business replied to my marketing tip and said, okay, every time you send this, I think I got to contact Jill because I really need her help. This month, I'm doing it. So, 5 years of monthly emails have now converted to a customer. So it's just a great way to stay top of mind with people, to keep reminding them that you're out there, what you're doing. Maybe, offer something that will help them, whether it's the time of the year or something that's a trend in your market that you can, demonstrate your leadership in that area and your value to them. But email marketing has a great ROI for all types of businesses.
So speaking of free technology tools, if you could you share with us some of the other tech tools that are free on other, for other reasons, for social posts, for your website, any other free tech tools that you can share with us?
Sure. So Shira's speaking my language, because I was sharing with her earlier, when I started my business 6 years ago, my marketing budget was $0. And I still love a free tool. I am still very cheap at heart. I will always do anything for free, and I really resist paying for things. So there are a number of awesome resources out there. You can get your business marketing started at absolutely no cost if you are just kind of willing to research the tools that serve you best. So MailChimp is, like I said, free to a certain point. So we talked about that. Another great free tool is either Hootsuite or Buffer. Both of those tools will allow you to schedule your social media posts. And as a busy entrepreneur, small business owner, however you kind of think of yourself, it is awesome to be able to just, what I do is I once a month kind of sit down, decide what I want to post for that month, schedule it all, and then it's on autopilot for the month. And so I'm still making my touches out on Facebook and out on Twitter and out on LinkedIn, but I'm not having to stop my day and think about what I'm going to post today. Or she can, you know, stop things or add things as things come up. But Hootsuite and Buffer are both.
Buffer, just Buffer.
Buffer.
I'm going to put
both.
Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a capital H, capital S, right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So Hootsuite and Buffer too.
They are both free tools, both very well regarded. Major national brands use these tools. But you know, as a small business, you'll be very able to operate within the parameters of both tools without having to go to a cost. Google My Business is free. I already mentioned that. Photos. That's one of the things that kind of, as a small business, you can't really afford to do a professional photo shoot. There are several great actual free. Unfortunately, when you do a search on like free stock photos, it gives you all these paid sites, which I find very frustrating. But one of my favorite is Pexels. It's P as in Peter, E as in Edward, X as in X-ray, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, S as in Sam. Pexels.com. And then also Pixabay, P as in Peter, I, X as in X-ray, A as in Apple, B as in boy, A-Y. Pixabay, Pexels and Pixabay, all the images there are free. They both have paid advertising. So like iStock and Shutterstock will like, oh, related images on Shutterstock. Just don't click on any of those. Just pick the free stock images. For 5 years, I used only free stock images for myself and my clients. Just 6 months ago, I broke down and I did purchase an iStock subscription. And it cost me now, the pictures that I have to pay for are only $7 a picture, which is not really that bad in the grand scheme of things. But anyhow, so Pexels and Pixabay are great free photo sites. What else is it? I'm like the queen of the free tool. I kind of forget like all the different things I use.
Oh, Unsplash is good. Alex just mentioned.
Unsplash is good. I find not very often between Pexels and Pixabay, I find all the same pictures. So I don't often go to Unsplash, but it is another good one that I know a lot of people use. I
will also share something for those of you who are looking for icons, you know, those cute little black and white, you know, little graphic-y images of like a person doing something, right? It's not a real picture, but just an icon. There's something called Noun Project. Noun project. So the nounproject.com. And what it is, it's just a free site with literally millions of different images on there. Now they do ask you, because it's open source, they ask you to pay, I don't know, $20 or whatever it is per year for the privilege. You don't have to, but they encourage you to. And then, yeah, I've gotten all kinds of cute little images of people doing things if you're trying to be nondescript in your images.
So thank you for that little transition. Canva is another great tool for creating images, little illustrations. You do run into some, you know, you have fewer tools available to you on the free version, but you could get used to Canva and, you know, not have to pay for it until you kind of absolutely feel like you're kind of hitting the limit of what you can do on the free version. And then share something you said also made me think of another, GIMP is the weirdest word. G as in Gary, I, M as in Mary, P as in Paul, GIMP. It is a free version of Photoshop. Mm-hmm. I love it because Photoshop is very expensive. It is an open source free tool. You download it to your computer. It's, you know, it lives on your computer. It's not an app. But GIMP is terrific for resizing photos, making minor modifications to photos. I tried to learn Photoshop for years and just always found it too daunting. I love GIMP. Another free tool that I really love for those of you, there's a corollary tool on Macs, but I'm a PC person, is the snipping tool, which comes with every PC.
Mhm.
I used to drive myself crazy looking for images. And now just go to websites and I use the snipping tool and I snip them and it automatically saves them in a web-friendly format. It is just
Actually,
the bomb.
so I'm gonna give you guys a little tip on that. So you no longer have to have the snipping tool app to do this. There's a cute little workaround that they came out with, I don't know how many months ago. And here it is. Okay, for those of you who like to do Control C, Control, right, the control buttons, here it is. I'm gonna be really specific. So you hit the window button. Okay, so this is on the bottom. If this is a PC, I don't know what you have to do for a Mac. Okay, this is PC. On your PC, on the your bottom bar, you know where your space bar is, you've got a window button. Hit the window and then the shift button and then the S button, S as in Sam, but you have to hold them down. 1, 2, 3, hold them each down in successive order, okay? And then all of it, your screen's gonna go a little bit, you can do it right now. Your screen's gonna go a little bit kind of dark and you're gonna see a little plus sign. And what you do is you literally highlight the image that you want on the screen and it copies it to your board and you just paste it into another document. Super, super simple. I do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, oh, when I found the snipping tool.
Exactly.
Saved me a lot of time asking people for images. So anyhow, so I think that's a pretty good, if anybody wants to name a topic, I can tell you. And I will tell you, again, you know, I'm fan of free. I share this with you. Google, all the Google tools, Google Sheets, the Google word processing thing. I'm also a huge fan of those. I use Google Sheets all the time. I can share them with my clients, totally free, easy peasy. So I also am a fan of all those G Suite tools that you can get with a Gmail account.
That's great. And Alex, thanks so much for all of your comments here about, you've been adding lots of little chats about different sites. And thank you for clarifying about the noun project. I had forgotten that there actually is a fee if you want to, if you do want to have it without attribution, but if you don't do with attribution, then if you want it free, you have to use attribution. Anyway, so thanks for that. And Alex, I don't know if you wanted to come online because it sounds like you've got quite a bit of knowledge here around what we're talking about. So you're certainly welcome to chime in vocally in addition to the chat if you feel to do so. So just want to give you, freedom to do that since we're kind of a small group tonight. Okay, so in terms of other tech tools, let's talk about the website, right? Platform for the website. The whole enchilada, the website design, the URL, the hosting. Talk websites to us.
Yeah, and I started my website for free. You might be getting a little theme there from me. So WordPress.com will host your website for free. And they have built in several themes, which is kind of the design pretty of the website that you can literally with a click, just like there's a lot of them, and you can just click and see what your site looks like with that design and click and see what your site looks with that design. You do have to pay if you want a custom URL. So when I first started my company, the URL of my website was kurtzdigitalstrategy.wordpress.com because I was too cheap to pay for a custom domain. Now my site is just kurtzdigitalstrategy.com because I do pay for the domain. But it's a great way to just kind of get up and running. You don't have to pay for anything up front. You don't have to pay for a year of hosting. You don't have to buy a theme and then decide that theme just didn't really work out for you. It's a great way to get your training wheels going, get a site going, and then you can just upgrade it later with a custom domain. Or if you decide you want a theme, a different theme, you can then buy that theme and apply it. But it's a great way to get started for free. I will caution you, there's a couple of other sites that are out there that allow you to do free sites. Wix, W-I-X is one of them, and Square is another one of them.
Weebly.
Weebly, right. These platforms, in general, if you have a successful business, will wind up being limiting to you. There's also very active debate out there about whether or not you will ever get good search engine visibility with several of these platforms, because they're proprietary, and they are not always coded optimally for search engine crawling and all of the goodies that search engines really want from a website in order to rank them well. So if you are just trying to set up a real simple site, let's say you're a consultant and you just need a place when you talk to somebody or you meet somebody, you need a place to send them to a portfolio of your work to just kind of validate who you are. A Weebly or a Wix or a Square could be really, really helpful to you. But if you are thinking of your website as kind of the digital front door of your business, I really encourage you to just jump right in with WordPress, which won't cost you a dime. Like I said, you can do it on WordPress.com. There's also tons of WordPress hosts out there. They average about $5 a month. It's not a huge investment. And that will set you up, because that is a platform that can grow infinitely with your business. Everybody develops plugins. Shira mentioned HubSpot earlier. HubSpot has a plugin that will coordinate your CRM with your WordPress site. All of the major tools that are out there, all are doing these little programs that help your WordPress site interface with their tool, because it is so popular. I think of small businesses, it's something higher than 75% of small businesses use the WordPress platform for their website. So,
actually, Jill, you don't know this because it's just a wonderful tee up. As it happens, we have a special BoomerWorks presentation on November 18th on WordPress.com. We have a WordPress.com expert who's coming to speak to us. Okay, so
yeah,
that's
and
yeah,
it's awesome. It is really awesome. And like I said, I'm all about, when you are first starting your business, giving you resources and tools that help you get your feet on the ground and position you for the future, but don't cost you a lot of money, because until you kind of try things out, you really don't know. I have worked with so many small businesses who tied up their marketing budget completely with somebody who sold them, as far as I'm concerned, like, a bag of gold coins at the end of the rainbow. And, they'll tell you they can do this for you, they can do that for you, and do that for you. And, oh, by the way, you're signing a 1-year contract. And that 1-year contract can quickly become a pair of handcuffs for you to do. I worked with somebody very early on in my business. She was a pet sitting business. And somebody told her, you need to advertise in this community's newsletter. It's digital and it's in print, and everybody in this community has dogs. She signed a 2-year contract to advertise in this community newsletter. Then she found out that 2 of her largest competitors actually live in the community and pretty much have everybody locked up. So for 2 years, more money than she really had was tied up in a completely non-productive marketing effort, and she couldn't break that contract to try other things that could be more productive for her. You just don't want that to happen to you. So I am all about starting everything in free mode. And then when something seems to be giving you traction, when something seems to be worthwhile, spend more time on it. Consider spending some money on that platform, but take the time to kind of figure things out before you commit yourself to an expense that you might regret a couple of months down the line.
Devin asks, do you have any insight on Elementor.com?
Well, Elementor is actually is an advanced editor that is used in WordPress. So I don't know. Maybe Elementor will help you actually start your WordPress site, but Elementor is one of several advanced editors that are available that allow you, if you don't like the native WordPress editor, there's another one called Enfold. ALB, Advanced Layout Builder. That's what's built into Enfold, that I love. It's all drag and drop. So there are several of them. Elementor, Advanced Layout Builder, and there's a third, Bakery, WP Bakery. These are all, when you get into WordPress, that these are like editors that you can layer on top of the the built-in WordPress editor, but the built-in WordPress editor will get you started. You don't really need to pay. Elementor, you actually have to license. You can get it at first for free, but then if you ever want to upgrade it, you have to buy a license and, you know, pay for it. And you know how I feel about paying for things.
That's great.
I love it.
Hey, hey, Alex, I saw that you came online here. Is there anything that you'd like to share verbally? I know that you've chatted a bit about different tools and what have you.
There he is.
Yeah, would you like to share anything?
Sure. One thing, any website you guys need to build is speed, which is there are lots of free tools. The tiny PNG and is one of the good tools you can upload images. And what it does, it will optimize image without changing the quality. So the same image which was, let's say, 600 kilobytes will become like 60 kilobytes after the optimization. And visually you won't see difference, but for search engines and lots time for your website, it's a big difference. And there are a few tools. One of them is called web.dev. It's provided by Google. It uses the Lighthouse, which is the same tool which is Google search engine is using for ranking and checking your website for mobile and desktop. And it will scan your website for performance, all other problems, and it will give you a report. You can see on the top underneath, it will give the report. And third tool is the university web audit by university. I posted there. They do the deeper dive to accessibility, because if you have a small business and you actually have a storefront and you're trying to start your website, you might get sued because your website is not accessible or ADA compliant. So having it ADA compliant is a big deal right now, because right now in California, 232, only last year, 232 companies got sued because of their not ADA compliant.
Well, which is another great reason to start with a tool like WordPress, and you know, and especially WordPress.com. They really are very stringent about vetting the themes that are available to you and the plugins that are available to you, and they do all this testing for accessibility and all these other things. And so it's kind of baked in. And that's another reason why I like them to start in. When you start doing custom themes and a lot of custom developing, that's when you really have to start paying attention to a lot of these great suggestions that Alex is making. But if you're just getting started, that's another value of just kind of using something that, you know, is really more turnkey for you. So yeah. Accessibility is definitely an important consideration, but I would not let that get you stopped from getting a site going. You know, and then you can, like, you know, add all these little refinements on top of it.
That's great. So I just want to talk a little bit, have you talk a little bit about content marketing and how you can leverage it. But before you kind of go into that, so some of you might know that we've actually had a content marketing expert speak twice now at BoomerWorks, and he's coming back for a third time. His name is John D'Annunzio, and I wanted to alert you to where that is on our website for you to get sort of deep information. I'd love Jill to kind of talk at a high level, right, for those of you who aren't familiar with content marketing. But before she does, let me just show you guys where this is. So if you go to boomerworks.org and go to our training center and go down to marketing your business, if you scroll down here, we have a whole bunch of videos. And down here, you'll see Digital Content Marketing 101, Digital Content Marketing 201. And then later this year, John is going to come back and he's going to do a 301. It's going to be December 2nd. Okay. So just to kind of give you a heads up, but Jill, we'd love to hear your high level on content marketing.
Sure. So as I said, you know, the type of marketing I help businesses do is what I broadly call relationship marketing, trying to connect with their target audience or client or customer, however they want to look at it. And one of the great ways to do that is to get content out there that's expertise. So, you know, if you're selling a product, it can be discussing things that are related to the product, perhaps the innovations that go into your product, or, you know, what makes your product particularly helpful for your target customer. If you're doing a service, it's about the subject area of your service. So I'm out there all the time developing and publishing content about marketing. and specifically marketing online for small businesses. So content marketing is basically the conscious effort to get your content out in front of your customers. And that is one of the reasons that social media is such an awesome tool for business owners, because you can publish that content on Facebook, and you can tweet out that content, and you can post an article on LinkedIn about that content. You can have your own website, and you can put that content at the website, and you can blog about it at your website. But content marketing is about getting your, what we broadly call thought leadership in whatever your area of endeavor is. It really helps people to understand who you are, what your expertise is, what you bring to the table that might make you the right person for them to buy product X from or to get service Y from, because you're out there, you're talking about it, you're engaging with other people where, maybe your content marketing effort is going to start with answering questions that people are asking on these various different forums, and not publishing, starting by publishing your own articles or videos or infographics. But the whole idea of content marketing is to highlight your subject matter expertise, and to share that content in many places, not just your own website. 20 years ago, we would start a website. We would work on getting everybody to our website so they can figure out who we are and what we did. Now we have all these self-publishing areas where we can proactively put our content on LinkedIn, so people who are on LinkedIn who want to know about small business marketing can find my business. So you can use all these platforms to get your content out, get your name out there, share your expertise. I actually handle my, I'm the queen of the free tool. What I do every time I develop a piece of content, I just use a Google Sheet, and I document that content that I have created. And I then have I just keep recycling the content there. Periodically, I go back and I kind of change it up. With the pandemic, I had to change a lot of things about how you did things online that perhaps people used to do in person. But I refresh the content, or I'll take that LinkedIn article I wrote and I will then make it a Facebook post, or I will take that blog post that I published 6 months ago and I will kind of reformulate it, and I will turn it into a series of tweets, for example. So I just keep an inventory of the content assets I've generated: videos, infographics, pictures or memes, written content. And I just kind of keep a chart, and I make sure that I keep recycling the things through, because, Janet is meeting me today. I'm looking at Janet's face. You're right next to me. Hi, Janet. Janet Brown. You're there. You've been there right since the beginning. So maybe she now wants to learn a little bit more about what I'm doing, but she's looking today, not 6 months ago. So, keeping my content out there, keeping it fresh in various places online is a great way to help people find you and your business online.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jill. It's a good high-level overview. So now kind of pivoting a little bit, for those people who are still in conceptualization mode, what are some of your suggestions around how to package products and services, how to define what a person is doing in their business, putting parameters around it, right? Because some people will be very broad and say, well, I don't want it to turn away business, so I can do anything. And yet we know that there has to be some definition. So we're going all the way back here to the beginning in conceptualization mode. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. Okay, everybody on this call, have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you said to them, well, what do you do? And then a lot of words came out and a lot of things happened, and you nodded and you listened, and then you thought to yourself, I have no idea what they do, right? We have all had these conversations. A lot of the times when that happens, the problem is the person hasn't said anything specific enough to you to really kind of help you get a grasp of really what makes them, what is their unique offering, what is it that makes them the person for something. So you need to help people by really defining what you do. Now, of course, like I said earlier, if somebody from California calls me and they're just dying for a digital marketing strategy, I'm not going to turn them away, but I'm marketing really in the Virginia area. And I am marketing digital marketing for small businesses. So just like Alex asked the question really early on about Google advertising, I have other people who I would say, oh, that's not my expertise, I'll send you over here. So you really do want to, when you are thinking about what am I going to be in my business, don't be afraid to be specific, because that is how people will get to know you. It actually is the opposite of limiting, because if they connect with you over this one thing that you're very clear that you do, and they build a relationship with you, they will then begin to understand kind of how the edges of that are more broad than you may have initially talked to them about. So think about what it is that's really your core expertise that you are going to bring to your target customer, and focus your conversation about what you do around that. Because if your answer to what you do is, oh, I can do anything, people will walk away and they'll say, geez, I just don't know what Shira does.
That's right.
So you really, specific is your friend when you are starting a business. And it's your friend because it helps your market understand what you want to do. It helps you focus your energies. One of the things that I think really happens a lot to small businesses is, the squirrel syndrome. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. And then you're not focusing on anything. You're just kind of scattered all over the place. And that lack of focus makes it harder for you to get momentum around getting your business started. So it helps you to focus your energies and to make strategic decisions that position your business right from the very start. And it also helps you to get connected with your target audience. When you can be really specific about what that core offering is, what is, a common marketing term is differentiator. What differentiates you from other people who do similar things? Why would somebody want to work with you? You need to be able to answer that question in people's minds if you want to get their business, earn their trust, get their referrals, even if they don't need your direct business.
And in addition to all of that, Jill, because those are great, by specializing, you are also helping to underscore your credibility, your expertise. Think of the difference between Five Guys and McDonald's. Nobody's running around saying, oh my gosh, McDonald's has the best burger. No, they don't. I mean, maybe they like the French fries, right? And they like the big, but people go to Five Guys because they love those burgers. Now, yes, they've got great fries too. Okay. And you kind of, when you go there, you find that out, but that's not why.
And shakes.
And shakes.
And shakes.
But you go for the burgers. And I like to say that people like to hire specialists, not generalists. If you have a leaky faucet, you're going to the plumber, not the general handyman. So if you are a specialist in something, let people know. That's the thing they will come to you for. Now, I'll be transparent here. So this morning, I was giving a presentation. Actually, several people are on this call right now who participated. And I was giving a presentation to a group of job seekers on LinkedIn. Okay. Now, I have multiple lanes to my highway. In other words, I've got multiple practice areas that I do. One of which is career coaching. Okay. And as a subset of my career coaching, I also write LinkedIn profiles. So not surprisingly, somebody wrote me right afterwards and said, hey, can you help me with my LinkedIn profile? That makes perfect sense, right? Because I was specifically talking about LinkedIn. I was specifically talking about profiles. This person had a need and showed up. Now, she's not necessarily asking for my resume work. She's not necessarily asking for executive coaching, which is something else I do. Not asking for small business coaching, because I'm guessing that she's not into small business, right? Like there's all these other things I do. But in this particular case, she knew that I was an expert in this thing, writing LinkedIn profiles, right? And that's where the business came. Now, it could very well be that once we start working together, she may need other services that I might be able to provide her, and that would be fine. I've had it happen, especially my B2B world. I'm an association recruiter as well. I've had associations who hire me to do a search. Then they turn right around and they have me do a presentation on something else, and they have me outplace some of their people who they downsize. I mean, like, you never know, but it's, as long as people understand that you have an expertise in something, start the relationship there. Then you can potentially expand out if you can offer them other things. Just like Jill was saying.
Yep.
Thank you, Jill.
Mhm.
All right, so with that, let's back up. And I know this is not your favorite topic, but I'm going to ask you anyway about business naming.
What should I name my business? Oops, Shira froze. Mhm.
All right, can you hear me?
So, yes, you froze for me. Am I okay for everybody else?
You're great.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what should you name your business? Not my area of expertise, but I get this question a lot, and I know many of you are in the earliest stages of thinking. So I named my business with my last name and my primary service. Very valid approach to take. That, you know, that could work for you. And then Google named their business over with a word that no one had ever heard of, and we now all use in our daily conversation. So I don't think that there's any wrong thing to do to name your business, but there's a couple of caveats to that. One of the things you could do wrong is to try to mislead with your business name. Absolutely don't do that. You know, you might be tempted and say, well, you know, people really like this product and I don't really offer that, but that's related to my product and I'm going to get them in the door with that. People don't like being misled. So don't use a name that isn't like really accurate for who it is you want, what you do. But once you decide on your name, I'm looking, I had written myself some note. Oh, the other thing that's really helpful with deciding your name is to think about your audience. And what is it that they're looking for? Again, that gets back to this differentiator idea. What is it, the primary thing that you're doing for them that you offer? It's also a great idea to think about naming your business in something that speaks directly to that target customer and speaks directly to what is the primary thing you can do for them. So that's another great source of thinking for a name. But there are going to be two little caveats as you kind of refine this. You know, I asked friends, I asked colleagues. I actually named my business after I did my website, and I had people read my website and say, okay, what would you name this business? Another technique. But be prepared. Whatever you name your business, you have to use that same name in full. If you go with a long one, you're going to have a lot to say every time. You have to be consistent in your business name. Don't name your business Kurtz Digital Strategy and then continually refer to it as KDS. That will work against you. Whatever you name yourself, and I think this is why Google worked so well, because it's just kind of easy and it's, you know, you just can kind of say it easy. But name your business something that you're very comfortable saying all the time and writing out all the time and using everywhere you do. I have a client, they gave themselves this very long name and they perpetually abbreviate it. That is an online marketing killer, because what happens very basically, there's a lot of nuance to it, but if you name your business Johnny's Plumbing and Drain, and then you start calling yourself Johnny's Plumbing online, Google does not know that that's the same business as Johnny's Plumbing and Drain. And so what happens is you dilute your effectiveness online, because, you know, the more variations that are out there. I have a real estate client, and sometimes they refer to themselves by their first names and sometimes they refer to themselves as their last name. And what happens is the search engine thinks all of those are different businesses because it's just a machine that's crawling. So when you pick your name, pick something that you really like and that you will use in the same way every single time. And that will really help with your online visibility. The last tip I want to offer you is, if you're not sure right now, be general in your name. If you kind of have like three different services that you think, you know, either one of these could become my core. You just name yourself something that would work for all three of them, because changing your name can be kind of painful. Registering that name with the state corporation is the easy part. But once you're out there online and you start creating some visibility for yourself, the last thing you want to do is change your name, because then you're kind of starting all over again. So think about kind of what is a good umbrella for all of the things you might do. So for example, when I started my business, I really thought that my primary service was going to be doing online market, digital marketing strategy for small businesses. It turns out I spend most of my time doing search engine optimization with businesses, all the techniques to help them get visibility online. So you could argue that my name is a good general name, or maybe I did go too specific, but be honest with yourself about the different directions. Shira and I both just finished encouraging you to really focus in on one core service. But, like Shira, with her business, she has a general name that really works for all of those different strands of her business. So think about that as well. You don't want to now you could go with the approach of, okay, well, I'm going to have a different business name for the different things. That's just too confusing for me. And so I think it's a smarter approach to go with a name that you think will serve as a good umbrella for where you are today and where you may go in the future. So those are kind of my advice. The other thing that you can do is do a Google search for the type of business, some of the keywords related to your business, or for some of your competitors, just do a search. Don't go to their website, just do a Google search and kind of see like what the names are. You might see a pattern emerge that's effective in your industry, kind of a way that people name their businesses that seem, and, kind of steal their intel about, what kind of name seems to resonate with that target customer.
So here's another way to do this. Jill, you mentioned about the idea of actually, maybe using your last name, something generic, or using something that speaks to what you do or what you offer or the value that the client is going to get. So actually, my company name happens to be that version, Purposeful Hire, HIRE. Okay. How did I get there? Well, there is a pretty prolific marketing consultant. Her name is Sam Horn. Highly recommend her work. She is a wordsmither's wordsmither. She's the person who came up with Snowmageddon. She's amazing. And she has a book called POP, P-O-P, exclamation point. She has another book called Tongue Fu, like with a T, Tongue Fu. And I forget which one of the books this is, but she does talk about, kind of when you're trying to create a name, a business name or anything else, like Bradgelina. Remember we used to talk about that? Okay. So putting two words together to form something else. So whether it's two words like Purposeful Hire, which is like, I kept those names, or again, you put them together and then they form this new name. One of the things she recommends doing is listing out all of the words that relate to, and I'll just be specific here with your name of your business, what your business does, the value you provide, the outcomes, anything that relates to it. Put those words simultaneously in two columns, same words, two columns, and then start mixing and matching and start crisscrossing and saying, oh, do these two words together? Do these two words go together? Could I make up a new word? Right? All of these things like Accenture. Accenture is not a word. Well, now it's the name of a company, but they created a new word, right? Administstaff. Like what? Well, it's an HR kind of a company. Admin, like admin and staff. So, but they had to obviously go through a process of doing that. They took words and they try to put them together. So see if that works for you. It could be very helpful.
Can I add something? Before picking any name, make sure that all social media handles are actually available. Lots of people pick the name and they set up the LLC or whatever, and in the end, they cannot use it. I posted a link there. You can find just first result. You can check all social media availability before even thinking about the name. And there is a second website called, I think it's called Domain Wheel, which does exactly what Shira was saying. It will actually generate all domain names which are available based on two words that you think of. Like they will like, hey, I want a pizza, and it will put like, I don't know, like 300 words that will tell you which ones are available for that word.
And Alex, can you put that in the chat box, the name of it?
Sure.
Hi,
Hi, Najat. Did you have a question?
I just came in, but like, I think you're talking about like the name of business, and I am a newbie first, like in everything, but I noticed lately, like for example on TV and stuff, like the emergence of the name, like for example, I start like for example, Grammarly. You're familiar with Grammar. Now I notice that everybody is like Freshly, Ownerly, and all of them, like all of this, and like it's kind of I noticed that like most business now they start to have that pattern. It started as Grammarly, then now you can see. Yesterday I was watching the news and say, okay, Ownerly, then Freshly, then like all that stuff. So I don't know how much like the like GoDaddy or whatever, whether you purchase like the domain thing, they charge. If they charge more, I know that it depends on the keyword. The domain will be like more expensive, but this is the trend according to what I see.
Huh. Interesting. Hadn't noticed
so
that.
Maybe if you have a business or anything, like you can combine, just like I just joined and I heard you saying that you can combine two words and see which one like actually feels good for the ear, and also what has like a meaning to your business. Plus that pattern, maybe that's like the common thing I noticed lately.
Thank you, Najat. That's really helpful. Appreciate that. By the way, going back a minute, somebody had asked to please discuss how to make the business pages of social media active. I'm not sure if you need more clarification on that, but that was the question.
Oh, yeah, I think that comes out of a comment I made earlier about how you didn't, you can set up a Facebook profile, but it doesn't have to be active. So active is a very different definition depending on the social platform. So active on Facebook is creating a post probably about once a day, a little bit more for some business types, a little bit less for other business types. Active on Twitter means like, living and breathing Twitter, because there's so many tweets all the time, and to have any visibility, you have to tweet a lot. So that's another factor that you want to consider when you're thinking about what platforms you want to be involved in, is really how much time do you want to spend on a platform. LinkedIn, active on LinkedIn is probably a post about once a week. Site you can get from very early on, I referenced Pew research data, PEW. That's another thing that their research data will tell you, is how often people are on various platforms, which gives you a sense. So for LinkedIn, for example, people are on, the most recent data I saw, it might be up now after the pandemic, only a couple of times a week. Whereas on Facebook, people are on daily, if not multiple times a day. And that kind of gives you a sense of what active would mean on a particular platform. So,
hello.
Hello, Mohammed.
Yeah, actually, I only asked the question which you are answering. So let me elaborate it a bit. Okay, I got your answer, but please let me know that is it important to upload the content of our product only, like only post the thing which we about our product only, or we can share other content like which relates to our product?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I had super audio, but so I think that Mohammed's question made me think of something, and Mohammed, you clarify if I'm not answering your question. But in general, every platform kind of has its own culture or community. And so I think what he was asking, or at least made me think of, you don't want everything you do on the platforms to be straight sells of you and your business. Buy from me, buy my product, call me today. In general, people talk about the 90-10 rule, 90% being helpful in the community, 90% contributing, things that answer people's questions, that demonstrate your subject matter expertise, 10% direct sell. On some platforms, like I understand on Reddit, the quickest way to get people to not like you on Reddit is to spend any time directly selling your product or service. Other platforms are a bit more tolerant. They'll talk about in like an 80-20 mix. And so this is part of evaluating the platforms that are good for you, is deciding, you know, do I have, you know, how much direct sell do I want to do versus am I really just looking to build, you know, people's understanding of me and my expertise. But it's usually a 90-10 is a really good, is a really good rule to follow. 90% of the time, you're just sharing your expertise, you're helping answer people's questions, you're talking about related topics to what you do. 10% of the time, you're saying, I'm selling this widget, buy it today for $19.99.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Najat asked in the chat, can anyone explain the lead generation concept and examples?
Yeah, so lead generation is basically getting those leads of clients or, you know, clients for your product or service. It's interesting, I think that folds nicely in to share a conversation you and I were having before this session started. So digital marketing is what you're doing to kind of generate leads, but it's not the only thing you want to do to generate leads. And, you know, depending on your business, digital marketing can be 80%, 90% of your marketing, or it could be 10% of your marketing. And again, it's about who it is that you're trying to market to and what you're trying to market. There's still a great deal of value to going to places where your target audience is. That could be a big conference you could attend that is, you know, attracting your target audience. It can be face-to-face networking events through a chamber of commerce or another professional organization. It can be meetup groups. There's tons of meetup groups around all different types of topics. Any number of things that you could do offline. It could be writing an article in the local paper about your area of expertise, if that's something that where you're trying to market to a general consumer audience. So, so lead generation is all the ways that you find people that could potentially be customers for your product and service. And conversation I was talking about, the biggest thing you need to do is need to have a way to capture those people's information so that you can follow up with them. I mean, how many times have you had a conversation at a networking event and forgot to ask the person for their business card, and then like you can't follow up with them? So it's really important every time you make contact with somebody, capture their information and to have a process that you follow for your business for following up with that person, you know, continuing that connection and helping to convert that lead to a client. And different industries, the number is different, but across the board, there are very few times where I will meet Robert, who's also on the line. I will meet Robert and tomorrow I will become Robert's customer. It doesn't generally work that way. They talk about multiple touches. And some industries, it's, you know, a dozen or more touches. Other industries, it's maybe 3 or 4 before it starts from a lead to somebody who actually purchases. Touches, what do I mean by that? That's just anytime somebody interacts with you or your brand. So your email marketing are touches. Your Facebook posts are potential touches. Meeting somebody at an event. I'm active in the local chamber of commerce. And I will tell you, when the first time I meet people, I very rarely get them to pick up the phone and call me to learn more. But the 4th or 5th time I interact with them at a chamber event, then we have meaningful conversations about what their marketing challenges are and how I might be able to help them. So touches are online and they're offline, but they're all these are all lead generation opportunity. Well, I'm talking about 2 different things now, but lead generation is the ways that you find people who are potential. One of the classic lead generation things that people do online, if you ever go to a website and they say, oh, I sell widgets and here's a downloadable widget meme maker. And all you have to do is give me your name and email address and you get this free download. People do that for lead generation. Oh, I sell widgets. Jill's interested in widgets. I capture her information. Now I can follow up with her and sell. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced this. You sign up for a webinar, right? That's another classic way people do lead generation. They do a webinar around their subject matter expertise. And then the next thing you know, you get a follow-up from them about them trying to offer you their particular product or service or introduce you to their larger business and how can they help you. These are all ways to capture leads. And then, but the important thing is you have to have a way how you're going to follow up with them. Just getting a pile of business cards on your desk is not going to generate customers for you because you need those multiple touches. So the leads are the contact information, and then you have to have a plan for how you're going to continue to have multiple touches with that person to move them from lead to customer.
And one of the ways to do that is through a tool like HubSpot, right? So this is, you can talk about inbound marketing probably a lot better than I can, Jill. But there are tools out there that will actually create a funnel, right? So that they capture the email address, right? And then it literally takes the customer through what they call a buyer's journey. And so they'll send out, once they get the email, they automatically get, boom, something, I don't know, a free downloadable or whatever. And then if the customer then engages there, then they get another thing. And if they engage there, they get another thing. So it only takes them in through the journey if the customer engages along the way.
That only works for digital one, but most of the stuff that Jill was talking about, Chamber of Commerce, they don't want any emails. They actually encourage you not to send emails, not to put you in any. They want you to set out one-on-ones.
No, what they discourage you from doing is putting people on your list that haven't consented to it. And there's many ways to address that. So what they don't want you to do is to take the attendee list from an in-person event and dump everybody into an email list. What I do is I send people individual follow-ups because I've gotten their business card and I say, Chris has been quiet on this, but he's been on since the beginning. Chris, it was nice to meet you at that Chamber of Commerce event. I have an email list where I send out a marketing tip once a month. If you sign up for my list, you're just going to get one email a month. Click here to subscribe or let me know if I can put you on the list. Now Chris is opting in. I have followed up with that lead that I got. So that's an opt-in method. Another way you can do it is to just put everybody on your list and then say, hey, because we did this together, I've added you for my list. If you want to get off, just click on subscribe here and you won't hear from me again. And that's an opt-out approach. But what nobody likes and no organizations want to feel like they're facilitating is people winding up captured on email marketing lists without their consent. So you can go opt in, you can go opt out. And that's another great reason to use a tool like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact or a HubSpot, because that's all baked right in. Every message you send out will automatically give people that opportunity to unsubscribe, and then you're, following best practices. Just dumping people into a list isn't going to make them feel warm and fuzzy about them. What you need to do is take that lead and say, great to meet you. As a reminder, this is what I do. It'd be really, maybe offer to talk to the person, invite them to sign up for the mailing list. Now you have started a relationship and an engagement, and it's not just dumping people into an email list. Likewise, I never recommend that you buy lists of leads. Because they're very unqualified. Half the people don't even work there anymore. I really think that it's much more effective to take the time to find your own leads and nurture those leads and start with somebody who you've actually met or you actually have a connection to, and nurture those leads in your marketing than starting with a list of 100,000. I mean, how many of us get all kinds of junk mail that you're like, why am I getting this? This is totally not relevant to me. You know, maybe you start with a bigger number, but I think if you build your own leads, you actually have a much more qualified list that will have a much higher conversion rate to, you know, to turning people into customers.
So
Speaking of
the way to do that, the
sorry.
way to do that to first place, like, is to ask them, like, for example, you're in the Chamber of Commerce, like how you're not gonna go one by one to ask them, like you have a list or something they need to, before you start, like they need to sign up or sign something, attendance or something. How do you get that first one, or like how you can ask them directly?
So
you know what I
different
mean?
events.
Before you work on the follow-up, like how to get that one first. If you
So different events have different formats, and you have to honor the format, just like when you're doing things online, you kind of have to follow the culture of, you know, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So some events you go to, and there is no attendee list that will be provided to attendees. And so what you do is you just talk to people and you say, here's my card, can I have your card? And then I typically say to people, you know, I have a marketing list where I send out an email marketing tip once a month. You know, can I sign you up for that? And if they say yes, I simply write an L on the back of their card, L for list. And then I go back home and I add those people to the list, and I have a welcome email that says, you know, it was great to meet you at XYZ event. And, you know, I'm adding you to the list. And so you'll get next month's marketing tip. That's one way to do it. When there is an event where they provide you with an attendee list with emails, I take a more kind of mass marketing approach. I put everybody in a list and I send them all an email and say, you know, hi, we were both at X and so event. I have this email list and I invite you to sign up. If you want to sign up, click here, and that adds them to my list. And all this is through MailChimp. Click here and adds me to my list. And if you don't want to sign up, no worries, you know, you won't hear from me again. And then I never email that list I created ever again. So again, that's opt-in versus allowing people to opt out. Two valid ways to handle it.
So speaking of opting in, when you mentioned Chris chatted, say, hey, he'd love to be on your list. So that prompted me to think, anybody on this call who wants to be on Jill's mailing list, could you private chat her? Just put your name and put your email, and she'll grab that and she can go ahead and do what she's been talking about.
Yep. And literally my list, just to be clear, is an email marketing tip. My target audience is small business owners. I try to provide tips, again, respecting that 90-10 rule, that are things that you can read it and you can take it and you can do it yourself. It's not just a monthly reminder that, you know, I'm available for hire. So my goal, because I'm a single person in my business, I love to support small businesses. That's why I like doing events like this, because I can touch multiple business people at the same time. So I try to do the same with my newsletter, is just offer tips that people can, if they apply to them in their business, that they can take them and run with them. And hopefully I've helped you make your marketing a little bit more successful.
And I've also put Jill's email address here. So if you want to follow up, just in case the chat didn't work or whatever, you just want to send her a private email, feel free to do that as well.
Yep.
I'm gonna write mine on the chat box because I don't know how to reach you directly. I'm gonna put mine on the chat box if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, so Najat, her email's in the chat right now.
Yeah.
One thing, you guys should all create some kind of online reservation system for yourself. There are lots of free ones. I put a couple of them in the chat. What it does, it makes people
depends on your business.
I mean, if you I'm not talking about business, but if you're networking, and most of the people here are probably going to build their business using networking. It doesn't matter you're e-shop or you are physical cigarette shop, whatever, you are still networking, and calendar makes it way easier for people to connect with you. Because right now with the email, you need to do at least 3 or 4 interactions before you can set up the hour and date. With calendar, it takes less than 5 minutes. You send someone a link and they will set up the meeting with you.
you're talking about Calendly.
Calendly.
Calendly,
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's
there's
all in
One
the
of those
chat.
LYs that Najat
LY
was talking
again.
about. And you know, we're coming up, we're past our time, and I really appreciate everybody's time and interest in the topic. But this is a great opportunity for me to reinforce something I said in the very beginning. If you have one takeaway, there's no one thing that you have to do for your business marketing. What you do need to understand is what your goal is for your business and who it is you're trying to market to, and then be very intentional about the ways that you market to your target customer and you market your business. So we've talked about a lot of great tools and resources, and there's nothing that we've talked about that are like they work for everybody. Everybody's circumstance is different. Everybody, what they're trying to do is a little bit different, and really be very thoughtful and intentional about how it is that you can make your business known to your ideal customer. And that's the whole goal of your marketing program. But, you know, if you take the time to really seriously answer those questions, you'll save yourself a lot of misdirected effort of taking time to set up things. Sometimes you'll do that anyway, and that's okay. It's all a learning experience. But if you take the time to really think about who's my customer, how is it that they want to be engaged with, what is it that they want to know about me, you can really set up an extremely effective marketing program, and it doesn't have to be expensive. And Shira shared my email. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. Happy to kind of send you know, I'll ask you some questions so I can understand your particular business a little bit better and hopefully give you some targeted advice.
Thank you, Jill. We appreciate you so much, and for all your great advice, and for just speaking to us extemporaneously from your years of.
Is there any way like we can see it, this one, because I came in, I joined it late. Is there any way like I can see this episode if it's recorded somehow?
Yes. Yes. So
Can
this is being, yes, this is being recorded right now, and I will show you where it's going to be. So if you guys go to boomerworks.org, that's a great follow on, Najat. Go to boomerworks.org and go to the Training Center tab. And there's a tab here that says Marketing Your Business. And we have a whole bunch of other videos, and I will be placing Jill's somewhere here that makes sense in the list. Okay. And so you can go ahead and download it there, and I'll be doing that probably in the next couple of days.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And I really encourage you guys to avail yourself of all of the Training Center videos, because we've been recording these since last April, since we went online, and everything's free for you guys. And please encourage others to check us out. Oh, and if you'd like to stay abreast of what we're doing and get a notice of our twice monthly programs, go here to, again, boomerworks.org, go to the join button, here, click on join our community, and we will simply send you 2 emails a month for our 2 programs. And our 2 programs, we have one that's educational like we had tonight, and then we have one that's called the Growth Group. The Growth Group is a peer networking group. So if you go to Meetups tab, upcoming events, go down here, you'll see, right, we have an educational program and then Growth Group. And the Growth Group will feel like this. It's just that it's not going to be a specific topic. You can bring any business topic you want, and it's myself and several other small business experts, and we'll answer your questions, you know, extemporaneously. Okay. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Jill, for your wonderful sage advice, and we wish everyone a blessed evening, and hope to see you again at another BoomerWorks event.
Night, everybody.
Night.